morning. I'm Dr. Francis Yahia, and today I want to talk to you about identifying what I call incongruences in the chart. We're going to do a few, but today we're going to focus on the sun. So first, let's start with this concept that we are unlimited in our possibilities. That is an absolute not truth, okay? When your soul incarnates, you incarnate to a circle, the wheel, the astrological wheel, and a cross. Okay, so here, for instance, this person is on the cardinal cross. You can go to your ascendant. If your chart is set to equal houses, it would automatically be, like in her case, Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra. If it's not set to equal houses, they'll be skewed. So you can just go to the ascendant sign. And if you know the cardinal cross, then you know what signs. You are bound to the circle and you are bound to the cross. What does this mean in terms of spirituality? The circle has to do with our inner space and our connection to the divine or the universal consciousness, always reflected as a circle. The triangle has to do with our thoughts, and the squares, which has to do with the cross, has to do with the earthly body. So there are three crosses: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. That's the main one. So in this person's case, they're on the cardinal. That's going to be their main cross. So the circle is that they're divine, but in an earthly body. Circle, divine, cross or square, earthly body. All of the planets are going to speak to the challenges and obstacles that the person has, that they have 100% potential to overcome in this lifetime. So you're not given anything on your chart that you cannot overcome, okay? And it's basically overcome by raising one decanat or one octave in the metaphysical law called the law of octaves. The best way to see this is through the sign of the descendant and the sign of the eighth house cusp. This is your descendant, a shadow aspect, and the eighth house cusp is the main hydra head or deadly sin that you're here to sort of bring consciousness around. So those are sort of cheats. I talked about that in the enlightenment video. But I want to talk about incongruencies. Oh, another way that you could look at a cross to have an additional layer is count up how many air, fire, earth, and water you have, and on what cross, the cardinal, the fixed, or the mutable. So for instance, I have a lot of mutable signs. I'm going to be mainly mutable. So I have to raise consciousness about not giving away my energy sort of freely and not caring about my energy, but rather maybe honoring my adaptability, my curiosity, which are strengths or higher consciousness of the mutable. So that's the way to identify your cross. Incongruencies. Every single chart is incongruent. That is the key to astrology and why it's the #1 tool for self-mastery. So there are many ways to look at incongruencies. One of the easiest and fastest ways is to see the sun sign and house and the moon sign and house. So today we'll do a few of the sun, and then in the subsequent days, I'll do additional with the moon, and then we can look at the moon and the sun with the ascendant, okay? So here is a person who has a 10th house sun. Look at your sun house. Does the sun like to be in that house? The sun loves to be in the 10th house. Why? It's exactly where the sun was at noon, the day the sun shines every day. So at the height of the day. But does the sun like to be in Aquarius? No. Aquarius is a collective sign. Therefore, it likes to be in the 10th, but it doesn't like to be in the sign of Aquarius. So you start to find incongruencies in your psyche. So if this person needs to have a stage, if this person needs to have a platform, a public image, but now the chart is indicating to her that she has to meet others' needs or be of service, let's say high vibration Aquarius, then that takes away from the personal nature of fame or a public image. So you're going to start then finding other places where this same theme, this same incongruence is found. And here, just quickly, Black Moon in the 7th. This is the house of others, specifically marriage. And you have a very personal sign of the Black Moon. It's all about myself. There you find the next incongruency. So your sun, moon, and ascendant are always going to give you a myth, but it's always going to give you an incongruency. And then you can go back to the chart and find it over and over and over again. but the sun by house and the sun by sign will tell you if that's your first incongruency. That's going to lead to your rational, logical thinking. So if that's not okay, then you'll do the same layer with your moon, your ascendant, and of course the other planets. So let's do a few more. So this person is on the mutable cross. Here's Gemini. These are not equal houses, so this would be here at the Pisces, the Virgo, and the Sagittarius. But just know they're on the mutable cross, and you can, and that would be the other layer you would find. Now, house by sign, sun by sign, sun by house, and does it like that cross? So we're going to be layering, but let's just focus on the sun. So here's the sun in the second house. The sun likes to be in the second house because the sun is partly about validation, right? It's about shining. The second house at a low level consciousness is material things. I shine if I have. Second house ruled by Taurus, the saying of Taurus is I have. This person needs to have emotions, needs to have attachments, needs to have emotional gluttony. That's not what we want to have and be shining from. So there's an incongruency there. Cancer is also similar to Taurus, the natural ruler of the second house. It's a house of attachments. It's a house of things, just like Cancer is a house of emotional or a sign of emotional attachments. So we see that that likes to be there, but there's an incongruency in terms of the sentiment about what to have and how I'm valued. If I shine, I have fill in the blank things or emotional experiences. And the sun likes to shine just because it likes to shine. So at a high vibration, this person can learn to shine on his or her own and can learn to shine without things, whether it's money or emotions or lovers or people or friends or family, validating them. So this would be one of the ways to raise consciousness for this person's particular chart. So let's look at a couple more. Then we would start to layer all of the other incongruencies. Like in that person's chart, she had Black Moon and Jupiter. That would tell another layer to the story, but let's just keep it simple for today. So here you have the sun in the eighth. The sun does not like to be in the eighth house. The eighth house is a hidden house. It's a cave house. It's a shadow house. It's also a house of shared resources. So the sun does not like to be in the eighth house. Now, Taurus likes to be in the eighth house because it's the axis, the 2-8 axis of money and other people's money and shared resources. They might struggle with the fact that they have to share their resources and need a partner to make the money that Taurus wants. That could be a minor incongruence, but really the biggest incongruence is the fact that the sun that wants to shine doesn't want to be in any of the subconscious houses. The 4, the 8, and the 12 does not like. So for instance, I'm a 4th house sun, Cancer moon. My sun likes to be in my 4th by sign of Pisces, but it does not like to be in the 4th house sun because then it can't shine. So 4, 8, and 12 houses are the subconscious houses. The sun does not like to be there. But now look at the extra layer of the sign and then the element. So this is a water house. Water and earth, this person's sun is in Taurus, are feminine polarities. So that there's a comfort level there. So you're doing what I call a Mr. Potato Head sentence. Does the sun like to be in the 8th house? No. Does it like to be in Taurus? Yes. Does it like Taurus being in a water house? Yes. So you could start to see the areas that the person will struggle with and other areas where they won't struggle with. So this is how you would start to Mr. Potato Head that or piece those together. So let's do one more. Okay, so this person is also an 8th house sun, but they're a Capricorn in the 8th house. So the sun does not like to be in the 8th house. Capricorn doesn't mind the 8th house because it is a money house. The thing is that Capricorn likes to be the dominant person in money relationships. So if this was the chart and they were talking to me about opening a business or monetary relationships, I would indicate that their preference would be that they would run the books, for instance. This is a very ambitious sign. So to have to share the ambition and the light that is already dimmed because it's in a water house, in a shadow house, is going to struggle. The native's going to struggle with this particular sun and house placement. So you could start to identify that you're limited to your cross. It's going to be sort of the cross you bear. You're in fact divine, but the only level of your divinity that you're allowed to shine, so that this limitlessness that we're sold, is confined to that cross. Then start with the sun by house and by sign. If you have aspects, especially conjuncts to the sun, that's going to layer and tattoo and make it more complicated in terms of the incongruence. You can do the same thing for the moon, and then the sun, moon, and ascendant, and find the incongruence there. And we'll do that in future videos. Thank you.